In the talking stage, does casual sex with others matter?
So the reality is all relationships start out as casual. And typically, most women, especially really attractive women, have many choices. And so they typically have, especially if they become single, they have the male orbiters, the guy friends, or the guys that always wanted to date, but you were in a relationship and they couldn't date you. As soon as they find out you're single, they start calling you, start texting you. Like, I know you had an experience. One of your friends for a long time, when he found out you were single, he's like, I'm gonna make you mine."
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're like, "Well, I met somebody else already." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna make you mine." And so he gets determined to come and lock you down or wrap you up. So again, typically what happens is women are hanging out with multiple guys. A lot of times it's first date because you guys tend to have the attitude of, it's kind of cute. I'll go out with him. I'll see what happens. See if I like this guy. Is he good for me? And you give the dude a chance. And so it's like when you're buying a new car. You got to test drive the car because sometimes you'll look at a car and it looks amazing, and then you drive it and you're like, God, that drives like shit. And it's the same thing with dating. It's like you're interviewing prospective boyfriends or girlfriends, depending on, which person is doing the searching. And all relationships start out like that. And for guys that have come to my work and are learning it, most of them have never had that kind of experience where they got multiple choices, multiple options, multiple women that they can date and sleep with. And what typically happens if you're, like I always say, it's kind of like having a practice squad on an NFL team. And so with the practice squad, those are the people that are like, they call them on the bubble. They're on the bubble of making the team. They're almost good enough to make the team, but not quite there yet. They still need to be developed. And so the idea is you're trying to find somebody you really click with, you really like, you enjoy spending time with. For a guy, you want to be with a girl that you actually like hearing what she has to say. She's interesting to say because sex is amazing and it's wonderful, but it's a really small part of your actual time that you spend together. And so when you've been satisfied enough sexually, do you like hanging out with the girl? Does she like hanging out with you? Do you like listening to her? Is she fun to listen to? Or is she boring? And so if you're talking to and meeting, and especially if you're a very social person, or maybe you're on a bunch of different dating apps, so you got a lot of different prospects, and so you got people in various stages of you're just talking to them on the phone and kind of pre-vetting them to eventually have a first date, then maybe you have a second or a third date, and sometimes the dates go well or they go better than expected, and you end up sleeping with the girl, but then after a few weeks you realize some things you don't really like about her. And then there's another girl you're talking to, and the right person eventually shows up, usually in an unexpected way. Like if you're strictly focused on dating apps and meeting girls dating app-wise, and you're hooking up, having a good time, but nothing's really clicking, nothing's really progressed, and then all of a sudden you go over a friend's barbecue in the weekend, and there's a girl there that knows somebody, or maybe his girlfriend or his wife or whatever, that just happens to be hanging out. And you just start talking, and you find out you have all these things in common, and you spend half the day together, so she's real comfortable, you're real comfortable, you get her number, we should get together, we should do this, we should go out, we should get a drink. And then you call her up, you pick her up, you go out on a date, you have this amazing connection, the date goes real well. And so over time, you just start spending more time with that girl because you click so much better with her. And then the other ones, you just stop spending less and less time with, and they just kind of fall by the wayside. They just kind of fade away. So it's like all relationships start out casually. So should you have sex with them or not? I mean, you're an adult. If you want to have sex with them, that's on you. I teach you how to get what you want. I'm not here to be your priest or your judge or to be your mommy and make your decisions for you. It's if you like the girl and she's down to have sex, it's obviously you should practice safe sex, especially if you don't think you're going to get into a relationship with her. Okay, and plus you don't know where she's been, and vice versa, she don't know where you've been. And so it's a case-by-case basis because, again, all relationships start out casually. So that's on you to decide whether or not you want to sleep with her.
Yeah, I think you don't have to necessarily hook up with everyone. just like how guys would say, or you just said, like, no one likes a used up car, and it might bite you in the ass later on in your actual real relationship with the girl you fancy the most. I don't think she's gonna appreciate hearing that literally you've hooked up with 5 different girls in a matter of a month before meeting her.
That's why you don't say anything. Gentlemen don't kiss and tell. Never ever tell her who you've slept with, how many girls you've slept with. Just, it's better not to say anything, because it'll be used against you if you get into a relationship and she gets mad at you. She'll throw that shit in your face.
And I'd also save it for, like, I just feel like, okay, 1, 2, and then the third date's like hooking up. I would rather save it and let that passion, that drive build up, and not just let it loose on that third date, you know? Because I feel like you grow more interested in a person when you save yourself and you wait instead of allowing your hormonal body take control. And then later on you'll realize, hey, like, I can even last longer. Hey, I actually really like this girl if I'm really waiting this long to actually get in her pants. So obviously, if you're not looking for anything serious, then whatever. But if you are looking for a genuine relationship, I would take a step back and just wait instead of jumping right into it.
Well, typically when you're younger, you don't have a lot of experience, you don't know what you don't know. Ideally, you're going to want to date and you're going to want to hook up more. But once you get a few relationships under your belt and, you know, enough seductions under your belt to where you lose your fear of talking to or approaching women or being around them, you lose any insecurities or fears or doubts that tell you, oh, that girl or these girls are out of my league or I'm not good enough for them, and you kind of lose that stuff as you start to see what you're capable of. You become more selective as you grow. There are women that you look back and you go, I would never sleep with that chick today, but hey, it was a great experience back then. And for a guy or a girl, it's like, if you can be selective, if you are selective, in other words, you don't sleep with every single person. Like, I don't sleep with every single girl I've ever gone out on a date with, and most of them I do not. And because most people are not worth that. But when I was younger, it was like, yeah, I'd be rocking out with my cock out, and it's like I'd be sleeping with girls knowing that it's never gonna go anywhere, or I'm not. Probably will hook up a few times, and then, you know, they'll fade away because you're young, you're horny, you don't have a lot of experience, and this girl is really down to hook up. It's, hey, why not? But after you have several good relationships with good women, like obviously you guys have watched the video with my ex-girlfriend Katie, my English girlfriend, it's like those kind of women, that they don't grow on trees. They almost never come along. And so when you can date that kind of a woman, it kind of ruins you. It raises the bar pretty significantly. You're not, then in that case, when you've had an amazing relationship and had that kind of a soul connection with somebody, you're not going to be as inclined to hook up with a girl who may be hot, but you just don't click with her on the same level. So it's good to be selective, and it's good to date a woman who is selective, because the reality, it's not hard for pretty girls to get laid. All I have to do is go to a bar and tap 4 or 5 dudes in the shoulder and like, hey, let's go home. You down to hook up? You down to fuck? You're kind of cute or whatever. Most guys will be like, let's go. But as, you know, if you're selective, because I've known, like I've talked about this this girl I used to know back when I was in real estate years ago, and she was real pretty, a lot of fun, smart, had a good career, and we would go out and she'd just get really drunk and then start dancing on the dance floor with some random dude, and then 10 minutes later she's like, hey, I'm out of here, and she would leave and go have sex with that guy. And I remember one time she left and she was really drunk, and then probably about 30 minutes later she called my buddy, and she was driving home with some rando dude that she had just left the bar like 20 minutes earlier with, and I guess it dawned on her that here it is, yet another Friday night, and she's going home with a completely different dude that she knew for like 10 minutes basically, making out on the dance floor. Now she's going back to his house to have sex, and then she just kind of like freaked out. Was like, I don't want to do this, you know. Makes him stop the car. She gets out of the car and she calls my friend. He's like, come get me. And so we had to leave and go pick her ass up. But it's like, I didn't have any respect for her because she just she gave the pussy away like it was nothing, like she was a homeless street person that's willing to have sex for, some drugs or whatever. And as a guy, you look at that and it's like she's just hooking up with any random dude. Why would I want to go behind that? I would much more respect a woman who is selective, who has lots of choices, but she's not going to just give it up for anybody. That's attractive.
I think if you're like in the talking stage, that maybe you should have a conversation with her, because maybe she's going out and sleeping with somebody else, and if you are both doing that, you should probably have a conversation about it.
Well, most girls are.
Yeah.
They got multiple dudes they're hooking up
But it's
with.
like, that's the thing. It's like,
like you're trying before you buy.
Yeah, but like if
gotta test drive the vehicle.
If the girl doesn't feel like there's probably something they always have the mindset that there's something better. Like if there's
the guy or the girl has
the girl. I mean, the girl, not always, but like once they found that person, then they know, like, okay, that this is the end of sexual contact with everybody else. But like if you're not like feeling it for her, you're just kind of filling the void at that point in time.
Yeah, the other thing that you start to realize too is that the more you have sex, the more you're able to get laid, the more you have opportunities, is that, especially having sex with somebody who's pretty but you don't really feel anything for, it really starts to feel like glorified masturbation. Because, after the sex is over, you're like, oh, I kind of wish she would go home now, or I hope she doesn't want to stay the night. And you got your release, and you're like, and after that happens enough times, you're like, what the fuck am I doing? This is a waste. I want a deep connection with somebody. And that's part of growing up. You got to have those experiences. You got to get to that place where you may turn yourself off, where you're like, I really shouldn't have slept with that girl, or I shouldn't have slept with 3 different girls last weekend, or whatever it happens to be. It's like when you have enough choices and you eat enough from Ben and Jerry's, not Ben and Jerry's, or Baskin and Robbins 32 flavors, you're like, okay, I know what's out there. I know what I like. I know what I'm looking for. And, especially as you get into relationships, and like I was talking about a few minutes ago, you date a woman like Katie or some of the other girls I've dated, and you realize the connection and the amount of fun that you have with somebody like that is just beyond what you're going to have with like 99% of the people that you meet. It spoils you. The bar is raised high, and you're like, it is demeaning to yourself, and it's demeaning to your other previous amazing girlfriends that, for you to just go out and just give it up to anybody, especially if you're just, raw dogging it all over town. Eventually you're going to get a gift that keeps on giving.
What do you think about, okay, so let's say after 3 months, you're seeing somebody, I guess you're still in the talking age, and then that person, let's say it's a male, that they don't want to call you their girlfriend. They're like, I'm not ready to say you're my girlfriend yet.
Yeah, if you're a woman dating a guy for 3 months and you've been hooking up a lot and hanging out, and he doesn't want to commit to you, keep it moving.
Good
keep
choice.
It moving.
Keep it moving.
Because the reality, if you're clicking on that kind of level, again, all relationships start out casually. They're going to kind of fade. The other ones are going to fade away. Like I remember, like the year that I met Katie, it's like, I think I went out on 3 dates besides her the whole year. Just because of the relationship that I'd had before her was just on a completely different level than I'd ever experienced. It was the first time I really got to experience true deep love, where I was like, when I was with my girlfriend, I felt like I got the best that's in the planet. When we're walking down the street and she's hanging on my arm, it's like I'm not looking around and going, oh man, that girl's got a nice ass, or she's got nice legs. I was content. I felt like I'd won the lottery. I had the best that I could get, and I'd never experienced that before. When you have that kind of connection, to just go back to randomly hooking up, it doesn't feel the same, and it doesn't fulfill you in the same way, and so you become more selective.